Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to Culty News and SPTV Roundup with Cassie Marie and Liz Gale.
That's right. I'm glad to be here. It has been one crazy week in SPTV watching.
It has. There's been a lot of news, and Liz and I have been on TikTok a lot. So we've had to play some catch up, and I was surprised with how much is going on.
I know there's so much, which is why I'm reminded how important it is that we do this because I don't think anybody
Yeah.
watching has hundreds of hours a week to dedicate to SPTV and all the Scientology watching.
Yeah, there's just no way.
So much. But before we get into it, how have you been, Miss
I've
Cassie
been
Marie?
I've been good. I've had a lot going on personally and culty wise, and a lot going on TikTok. So things have been busy, but good. There's a lot going on in the culty world, not just
There is.
SPTV.
I feel like
How
it's a
about you?
topic that lots of people are getting really interested in and
Hmm.
starting to see how the threads connect, something you and I have seen for a while, but it's great that
Yes.
it's connecting. So,
Yeah, yeah.
look, we've got a bunch of hellos. Hi, everybody. We're so glad you're
Hey.
here. Should we dive into our
Yeah.
SPTV roundup? All
Let's do
right.
it.
And if you're new here, everybody, this Cassie Marie and I go over the SPTV roundup. Then we offer each other a surprise story. We have a main story of the day, and we'd love to hear your opinions and what your thoughts are as we go along. All right,
Yes.
guys, here we go. All right. I'll talk about mine. You talk about yours. You want to do it that
Yes.
way? Okay.
Yes.
It's teamwork over here, friends.
Uh-huh.
So I was really excited to see that Reese was back with another recorded phone call over on Growing Up in Scientology. I have also noticed she had her own channel going a little bit more this week after her hiatus and really embracing the I'm the Scientology spy title, which I had
Yeah.
brought up last time.
I saw that. Yeah, didn't we talk about that last time that she was on Andrew Gold's channel and he kind of spun that. He did that whole, catchy title and called her a
Mhm.
Scientology spy, and I have noticed that she's been embracing that more. And these phone calls are so it is just wild. It's wild after leaving cults to go back. I know all of us have been out for different amounts of time, but to listen to, like, the cult speak and the coercion, like, in real time, not
Mhm.
just from cult leaders, but just from people who are so deep in still, is just a very wild thing to listen to.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for me, it's really interesting because I grew up in Scientology and I would have conversations, many conversations like the ones that Reese had recorded. And I would always walk away not being able to put my finger on why I felt so bad. I didn't understand gaslighting. I didn't know it was happening. So
Right.
yeah, to have the hindsight to analyze them now is like it's a whole kind of tea, isn't it?
Mhm. So many emotions watching, but it's so interesting and educational, I think.
I agree. I agree. And also, Aaron had a couple other things going on his channel. He had Sterling Tompkins on, as well as he also basically Shelly Miscavige was the topic, right, for a couple
Yeah.
of videos. And there was quite a bit of there's a lot of conversations and speculation as to how much power she's had or could have had, what she could or couldn't have done to sort of take over, as well as what I love the most is the intermarital drama because Lou
Mhm.
is the assistant, right? And Shelly Miscavige has been missing for a really long time. So
Right.
I don't know. Um, Apparently she's been replaced. So I
Yeah.
found that if you like
I've
that kind of stuff, that we're good.
I've heard a few people talk about that before. I haven't caught this video yet because it was so long as we were doing our catch up. I couldn't go through it. But I saw the title and the thumbnail and saved it for later because I was like, oh, tea.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen people talk about this. I want to hear the scoop behind, like, why people think this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, a big part of it is that I forget who, but somebody not that long ago saw them retire in like a private jet to the to the bedroom in the back I might have
Tea.
that wrong. Yeah, you gotta watch the whole thing, but yeah,
Oh my god.
definitely some tea. And there's also speculation that perhaps David Miscavige and Shelley Miscavige are divorced, and we just
I
have
have seen
yeah.
that. Yeah. That
So
would be crazy.
yeah,
But that's common in Scientology, right? Like people
what
get
divorce?
yeah. Don't
Oh
people
yeah.
get divorced like all the time?
I mean, yeah, it's
In
definitely
the
not
Sea Org.
in the Sea Org in particular. Well, you can't shack up in the Sea Org unless you are married, and you're not
Right.
supposed to have intimate relations. So a lot of times it's like it checks a lot of boxes because for one, you get a private room, which is
Mhm.
awesome. Otherwise, you're living in dorms. So sometimes I've heard people shack up and they get married, even though they're just good friends because they just they just want some peace and quiet,
Yeah.
which rough situation.
Yeah.
Um, okay, then we've got excuse me, uh, Doug over at Dazed and Confused. I admit I've been neglecting his channel, but one of the most recent things I saw really intrigued me, and I have hopefully endless hours to go catch up. So he was highlighting this old Jesse Prince TRs. So training routines in Scientology are one of the core tenets. You got to do it all the time. It's big controversy because a lot of people say it's hypnotism, makes you suggestible. Anyway, he really went into
Yeah.
it and it was fascinating.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's part of a whole series. So awesome.
I caught some of Doug's stuff last week, so I'm gonna have to catch up on his stuff this week. I love his take on things. Like he has a
Yeah,
really interesting perspective that I enjoy when he does more of these deep dives.
exactly. I do too. He's always up so late at night though. I never catch his
I
lights.
know. I don't catch him live ever.
Yeah. This one I thought was pretty good and interesting. Um, so this was on Blown for Good's channel, but it's on all three of or all the Amy Scobie's channel as well,
Yeah.
I believe, because Claire and Amy have an ongoing Scientology stories thing. I thought it was really
Mhm.
interesting. They talked a lot about the more I'm learning about how things were run in the Sea Org, I'm realizing that the Scientology boarding school I went to was actually just modeled exactly off of that. So they had something
Mhm.
called restriction. Um, and I've heard Mark talk about it a couple times, but I just wanted to bring it up here. He got restricted to the base for a year. He could not
Oh my
leave the
gosh.
base for an entire year. And he had this little cubby in the hallway because he had helped build the building or redo the building. So we knew the spots. And he was basically explaining the different places you would have to sleep if you couldn't leave the base because you didn't get a room anymore.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting and sad.
Yeah.
Was I
Oh,
laughing? It's an awkward laugh. I don't know what to say to someone who was like, "Sorry, you had to sleep in the ceiling for a year."
that's
Is there like
really
a is there a Hallmark card for that? I don't know.
I know. Like, yeah. Like, what do you even say?
I don't know. I think my brain is still computing like what that actually means. I mean, imagine you go to work one day and someone says, "Oh, you just don't get to go home for a
Yeah.
year."
Yeah.
Oh,
Gosh.
pre-Amazon era, because we all know in the back of our minds when I said that, we were all like, "Well, I just Amazon everything I needed." No. Plus, you only make like $10 a week, so you're screwed. Actually, nothing, I think, if you're restricted, but
Yeah.
crazy.
Gosh.
Oh, hey, look at
Oh,
that.
hey, look who this is. So you and Alicia, is that how you say her name?
Alicia.
Alicia. Okay, you and Alicia did book club?
We did. We talked about my book for quite a while, and it was so great. She read it, which was just heartwarming, and she read a bunch of different passages of it, and I got to speak to it. I was really happy and
Oh my
proud.
gosh. I love that. Love it, love
Yeah,
it. I wanted to
it was
throw
good.
this in here because,
Thank
you
you.
know, everybody, if you haven't bought Liz's book yet, go buy it. It's so good.
Thank you. Yes, Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Pothead, available on Amazon. And I think this was the only SPTV thing I did like all week. So
Yeah.
thanks for counting me in.
Yep.
I've been slaying it on TikTok though.
You have.
It's so fun.
I
Um,
love TikTok.
okay, tell
Okay.
me about this.
Threw this in there because Vanessa and Lara, is it
Mhm.
Lara or Laura? Why can't
I think
I'm
it's Lara. But
Lara.
you
Okay.
know what? Please, I'll find out for sure, and then if
Okay.
I'm wrong, I'll tell us.
Well, they went to the protest at the Big Blue Scientology building in Hollywood that we wanted to go to, that we talked about on our
Yep.
roundup last week with Alexa Nicholas.
Mhm.
And they were having a good old time out there, all live streaming to their channels, Alexa's channel. I think Lara had it on her channel and Vanessa on the Gray Zone. And I loved Lara's outfit and her SP sign. It just looked so great. And it
She's such
was
a
fun to
wild
see them
child.
out there, and I'm glad that some ex-Scientologists made it to Alexa's protest to represent.
I am glad too. Yeah, and Lara wears the yellow because that's the goldenrod color. So there's a special printed paper color called goldenrod. And if you get declared from Scientology or declared PTS, so basically they're just telling you you're a piece of you know what, they'll do it on a yellow piece of paper for you.
Oh
And so
my
that's
god.
why she's constantly wearing this color in so many
Obsessed.
SPTV things. Love it.
Obsessed. I love it.
I love it. And I love the ways that people express themselves and the different
Mhm.
ways that you can like process your art and your trauma and your expression because they're just wearing yellow might not seem like anything to somebody, but she's really exercising her right to like express herself. And
Yeah,
we worked so hard to get that right that I just love it.
it's amazing. It's
I just
so
love it.
amazing to see.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Kelly and
Oh,
Marilyn and Michelle Carpenter.
I forgot to add something. When you're done telling me about this, let's talk about Kelly.
Okay.
Okay, tell
So
me.
they did a live Q&A. They did SPTV making more waves than the free wins, which I thought was cute. And so
The Free
they
Winds is the Scientology's cruise ship, so they're making more
Yep.
waves. It is dark.
Yes. So they talked about just the effect that SPTV is having and all the new SPTV channels that have showed up recently, which I think that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And they did some Q&A. They answered a bunch of questions. It was nice to see Kelly's face back on a live again. And they talked about the Discord channel. Do you know about the Discord channel? Is that what you wanted to talk about? Or no,
No,
something else?
something else. Tell me about the
Okay.
Discord channel.
So there is an SPTV Discord server. I think it's called a
What?
Discord server. I'm not on Discord. I don't know how to use it. I joined the server this morning after watching this to see what it's all
Okay.
about, and it's so overwhelming for me, so I'm going through it. But Michelle started one for SPTV where she updates all of the SPTV channels like as they post. So there's like 25 SPTV channels on there,
Oh,
and
so it's a
like
feed. So if you're a part of the channel and you've posted, that would
yes,
make
I
our
think
job a
it
lot easier. What the hell?
yeah, I think it updates in real time. Maybe in real time. I think she said that, maybe not. But they
Okay.
upload it pretty or update it pretty regularly. But they have a lot of Discord like channels on their
Oh,
Discord server
mhm.
for SPTV for different topics. And like we can all just go on there and like chat with each other on Discord if we want to. Like if we want to take the conversation beyond the YouTube comments and just connect with more people who watch SPTV, things like that. There's like over 350 people on it, I think, or maybe just under 350. And you
Nice.
can like get on and introduce yourself, and it's really fun. And I forgot to put the link up. I meant to get the link. I,
Okay. We
I
can
might
we can
look
add
at
it.
it before we end this live and try to throw it up here in some way. Or if someone in the comments knows the link, you can pop it in and we will pop it on the screen. But if you guys are wanting more of a real time like SPTV roundup, I guess, or literally all of them, because Liz and I cannot possibly keep up with every
Mhm.
video everyone posts every week,
If you wanna
then
watch every single one yourself, that's the best place to find them.
yes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yep.
Awesome. Good
What
for her.
did you want to say something after this one or when we're done with the roundup?
Oh, just after this one, I meant to
Okay.
screenshot. Kelly has a fun game coming up on the 13th, Friday the 13th, and it's a live game, and I'm participating. It's called Werewolves, and she sent this long email about all the things that we do. We turn our cameras on and off, and we don't know who's who. I'm actually kind of have anxiety about it because
Oh my
it's kind
god.
of like the mole when you play a game where there's a mole and you can't tell anybody who you are. You're allowed to, thank goodness, because I swear I'm gonna get anxiety. I'm just gonna be like, it's me, I'm sorry, it's me. But
I'll go
sounds really
watch.
fun. I will
It looks
publicize it a bit more.
Yeah, I saw her thumbnail of it. Like she has it
Mhm.
up there and I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" Like I was really intrigued as to what that's going to be. So,
I
that
know I
sounds
saw
fun.
my own
Everybody
face on there and I was like, "What's that?" And there's a bunch of different people, so
like,
it'll be really
"Oh,
fun.
me. What did I
Yeah.
agree to again?"
What the hell did I sign up for? Just kidding. Kelly's awesome. I think
Amazing.
anything she organizes will be really cool.
I adore her. I think
Yeah,
she's great.
I think so too. Can
Okay.
you hear my dog whining or can you
No, I
not hear it?
cannot.
Oh, good.
I
I'll
can't hear
continue to ignore him.
it. You're good. Okay. So I was perusing through Apostate Alex's videos and I came
Mhm.
across this that he uploaded with Sarah Edmondson, him and Sarah. And oh my gosh, what is this? I cannot remember her.
Cats. Cat
Yes.
something. I don't know
Yes.
her last name. Cats. Yeah.
With the That's So Effed Up podcast. That's what it
Yes.
is. I like her podcast. They did like a culty bingo. So they kind
Oh,
of
fun.
chatted for a little bit and asked each other a few questions. And then she did like a little bingo game with Alex and Sarah with like just cult traits, like culty things. Did your cult make you do this? So they
Okay.
kind of compared and contrasted Nexium and Scientology. And for those of you who don't know, Keith Raniere, who was like the leader of Nexium, borrowed a lot of Scientology, borrowed, stole, took, used a lot of
Don't
L.
worry,
Ron
guys. He gave
Hubbard's.
it back when he was done.
Yes. Used all that stuff in Nexium. So it was really interesting and cool seeing Alex and Sarah chatting about stuff. So if you guys haven't caught that, go watch it.
Oh, see, and I'm having a little bit of like FOMO because I was scheduled to go on with them this week, but like some things happened. But I know that Ash in particular was waiting for Sarah. She didn't name drop her, but they were talking about Nexium. She's like, I've got an important guest with a very busy schedule coming up. And I was like,
Oh my
I know
goodness.
who that must be. Awesome.
Oh, bummer that you couldn't be on. I would have been like, "Oh my god, there's Liz."
Well, they didn't invite me on to their three-way chat, but
Oh,
boo. Just kidding.
that's
Okay, next one. Oh,
next one.
yeah. I think we both put this one up.
Did we?
Mhm.
Oops. Did
It's great.
you?
I got different images than you. Let's see if mine's next. Yeah, you did it in order.
Oh, I did. Oh,
Perfect.
okay, perfect. So this is the other most interesting Apostate Alex video that I saw from the past week, where there's a new IAS event, right? They're restarting the events that have been on break since COVID.
Yes, they were on break since COVID, and there's speculation. I watched this because I was super curious. Traditionally, the IAS events that's the International Association of Scientologists, and this
Mhm.
is actually different from the Scientology organization. So when you pay for Scientology, you would pay for your services at your local quote churches, right? The IAS is different. It's you become a member, you pay for a membership, and you pay for statuses. So like my family are patrons with honors, which means they've donated $100,000. And then as you go up the line, there's all these like patron emeritus and like, I mean, think about like crazy love bombing terms and
Yeah.
then big, like literally this big of what are they called? Trophies and stuff.
Yes.
And David Miscavige historically has always been there and present. And then just
Right.
so you know, all these Scientology events, they're not live casted. They use their own production crew
Right.
to record it and then their own systems to give an actual CD to go play it. Now, my job in Portland is used to be that I would get the CD and I would rent a big hall, a big auditorium and play the CD and then we do local awards.
Interesting.
So, all this is to say that David Miscavige should be actually physically going to the
Mm.
UK, which is tricky because people are trying to serve him papers. So, it
Yeah,
puts him
so
at
if he gets on
risk.
an international flight.
Well, and he doesn't fly internet. Like he has a I'm pretty sure he has a jet or he has access to a jet. That's a good
Oh.
question. Does Scientology own a jet?
Wait, yeah. He would
Apostate
be.
Alex, this sounds like a Scientology business question.
Yeah.
um Things to write down for my journal, things that will keep me awake at night.
Yeah.
But there is a jet. The jet was why people think that David Miscavige is dating his assistant Lou. So
Mhm.
there was a jet at some point. Long
Right.
story short, I don't think there's an airstrip. So he's going to have to get from one airport.
I
He's
would
going to get
assume even with
served.
a private jet, there would be some kind of documentation of
You think
something.
so? You'd have to register it. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
We're gonna go
he's
off
going to
on a
be
tangent
there.
until we understand.
And because he's going to be there, there is a protest that
Yes.
was announced. And
Yes.
I believe it's November 3rd through 5th. So maybe maybe we shot our sights too low. Maybe there's a kind benefactor out there that wants to send us to the UK.
I have places we can stay. I
Do
have a
you?
UK family.
I
Just
speak
let me
English.
know when and where.
I know how to dress for the weather.
Yes.
It will be really really interesting. I thought that there was another slide here. Um, you know, it's pretty soon, but if it got big enough, we could also do a simultaneous one in the United States
Yeah,
for
that would be a good
solidarity.
idea too. I'm
So it'll be
loving the
interesting.
protests.
I know. I'm loving the protest. I just wish there was a way for us to build momentum to kind of all do it together. And I still think we need
Yeah.
an SPTV convention, you
Let
know?
Yes, I completely agree.
So, all right. Well, anything else you wanted to say about that?
I don't think so.
Okay. I wanted to mention 3 new SPTV creators that I have come across and don't know a ton about all of them, but I just wanted to say hey. So
Shout them
we
out.
have Lou Repetto, who you can see here was a very young, high class, high trained Scientology auditor. Then we have PTS for Life, who is Jeff, who recently was on Aaron's channel, and he
Did that IAS video with Apostate Alex, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So he's new, he's out, he's proud. And, um, welcome, Jeff.
Yes.
Let's see. Then, the Blow Drill. So Dylan has been out for a long time, and I don't know, we just never highlighted. Here you are. This is Dylan. Please follow him. He's got some good stuff, some old clips on his channel, and, is my friend.
Aw.
So I think that's all of them.
Woo!
Woohoo! Let's get this out of here. All right. SBTV Roundup is done.
Do you want to introduce our main story of the week?
I think we should do our surprise stories first.
Okay.
If you're okay
Let's
with that.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first?
I do.
Okay.
And actually, do you mind if I make you big so I can add something on the background here?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna
Go
make you
for
big. I'm a big you.
it. Okay, so the surprise story this week is a new docu-series on Max, which was HBO Max and now it's just called Max and now I don't know what to call it because as you can see here it says HBO original, but whatever. Max HBO called Savior Complex. And this is very
Hogan's
on
wife is a
brand
Scientologist,
for
even
what
though
oh,
Hulk Hogan's
uh-oh. I don't know who did that. It might have been me. Okay, very on brand for me because if you guys don't know me, I was not in Scientology. I met Liz through TikTok and I was part of more Christian culty groups and business coaching groups. And Savior Complex is about a missionary that went to Uganda and had a really big mission for several years where she was helping children in Uganda who were malnourished with long term recovery. And she was from a Baptist church that there were apparently this one town in Uganda has like tons of missions groups and Christian groups and missions organizations that go to this one specific place to do any number of things in Uganda. But allegedly, this woman, Renee, started essentially practicing medicine without a license. And she came under fire because initially she only had one nurse working for her, but she would administer IVs and kind of try to like help prescribe children that were malnourished with different different treatments that she wasn't qualified to do. She had been homeschooled her whole life and had never gone to college, and like wasn't even a nurse, wasn't even a CNA, like absolutely nothing. She
Hmm.
had one Ugandan nurse work for her for a little while, and then eventually over time, I think her missionary organization hired other doctors or nurses, but Renee was very much this leader and did things that people just thought were really questionable. And then another organization came up called No White Saviors that was criticizing white missionaries basically that come to Africa and just question like how helpful are they being really, and what are they doing, and is it regulated, and why do they have this like complex of needing to save people when there may be government resources available, there may not be. It's very complicated, a very
Hmm.
nuanced topic that I don't have time to really dive into white saviorism and missionaries, but she came under fire from this other group. And without giving away the twist of this documentary, it's just a very nuanced conversation,
Hmm.
very culty from both sides. And like, it's just my brain after watching this is like, reeling of the cultiness of all of it and the whole topic of missionaries. And I cover a missionary group called YWAM on TikTok a lot and on my podcast and on my YouTube channel, which stands for Youth with a Mission. And there are problems with a lot of Christian missionary organizations and a lot of ex missionary people that have come forward basically saying that a lot of Christian missionaries go into these other countries and don't do anything except for
Hmm.
sometimes disrupt their own systems or their own economy, or they don't address the underlying issue of why some of these systems need our help in the first place.
Right.
So it's very complicated. It's very sad. I think in Renee's case, you know, there were children being saved, but there were also accusations of children potentially being harmed that may or may not have been harmed if she knew what the heck she was doing. So
Mm.
there, it's a lot. It's a little bit of a heavy one.
Is it
But
out now
it
already? All
is.
three
It's on
parts?
Max right now. It's 3 episodes. I
I think I
I
have that.
watched them all in a row because I was hooked and I
Ooh,
couldn't stop.
interesting.
And
Okay.
there's so many twists and turns. And it
Okay.
really dives into like we don't join cults, right? We join good things. And
Hmm.
most cults start out as good groups.
Right.
So it takes this like really, really intense thing of saving children, right? And
Mm.
dives into like, okay, we are saving children, and what
Right.
happens if this is going on? What happens if that is going on?
Let me ask you a question. When you
Mhm.
after you watched the last one, did it leave you with like an uplifted, like we can do something about this? Or is it one of the ones where you're just like, oh wow, and then it haunts you? Sounds like a
I'm
character.
haunted.
Okay.
I don't
Haunted.
know.
All right.
Yeah,
There's a
I
bunch of
don't
people
know
in the
that there is
comments.
like
They're
an
like, it's too sad. I'm not sure if I'll watch it. And I'm like, we should know going in. Will I be
yes, that's
triggered?
a
Yes,
very good
we will be
point.
triggered.
It's a good point and good question. I don't think it's not, you know, I'm really sensitive to stuff like that too.
Yeah.
It's not one of the worst I've ever seen. Like I've seen other documentaries that have messed me up way more than this one. But tread lightly. And yes,
Mhm.
I don't think, but it doesn't leave you with an uplifting message, but I think it will leave you thinking,
Okay.
and
I
it
love
will leave you
thinking.
like
The mental
grappling with big
gymnastics.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love that. That's funny. That's that we both kind of have a similar theme to our surprise stories today. That's funny.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited. I will definitely watch this. I'm pretty sure I get HBO Max with my phone or something. I think I have it somewhere. A login.
Okay.
Awesome. Is that
What
is it my
yeah,
turn then? Sorry, I
yeah,
don't
I was
mean
gonna say,
to.
what you got for your
What
surprise
am I
story?
doing? Well, I have to take this off. Let's see what I'm doing here. This one. Don't look at my concentration face. Okay.
Okay.
Um, uh, let's see here. Mine's silly. Mine's a little tea oriented, but it gives you some spicy food for thought.
Okay.
I want to revisit. Okay. Are you
Okay.
open to this?
I am. I'm
Okay.
excited for this.
Okay. Well, if you recall, it was a big deal that Hulk Hogan recently married a quote Scientologist, right? This is her,
Yes.
Sky Daly. She is a Clearwater or Tampa Bay area resident, which Hulk Hogan also spent most of his like adult life living in Tampa, I believe.
Yep.
Grew up there. And so let me start this comment. So it's all this speculation, and the speculation's been happening, I believe, for over a year because they were engaged, right? And everybody
Mhm.
was really surprised when they got engaged because nobody even knew that Hulk really had finished his divorce to his last wife. So they popped on Instagram. People are like, "Who's this?" Immediately trying to find out more. Um, Aaron on Growing Up in Scientology, I think, gave some of the tabloids some information that her parents are OT8, which means that she was raised by, for lack of a better word, fanatical Scientologists. Like, you have to be. I mean, call me
Yeah.
crazy, but by the time you get up to the very top, you've spent so much
Right.
money, so much time. I would call that fanatical. Please don't hold it against me. Um, Now, here's where things get a little tricky. Reports say that Sky Daly is not a Scientologist, right? So,
Hmm.
um,
Mhm.
friends of friends, people talk this and that. And I have been told that she doesn't want anything to do with Scientology. However, her parents are Scientologists. And so, she's towing the line. Looking around, I have not really seen her promoting Scientology. I have not seen her in many Scientology advertisements or internal documents. If I'm wrong and anybody else sees them, please send them my way.
Yeah.
Um, so it brings up this sort of debate, right? Is somebody, and we've talked about this with celebrities in the past, if they're
Yep.
associated with Scientology or they were a Scientologist or their parents are they required to say anything? Are they, I mean, no one's required to do anything. We don't live in a cult
Right.
anymore. You can do what you want.
Right.
But hey, we're speculating. And so I want to bring up this little clip. Let's see if I can do it, which is, I did not mean to start that in the middle of when you were talking, by the way.
You're fine.
I
I
didn't
thought
know it
I
would
had
load.
pressed something. I would do something like that. I
Uh,
didn't even think.
okay. And don't hold this against Aaron either. This is a clip. He said other things. But I really agreed with him here. And I have gotten heat for this in the past. It's an unpopular opinion, I think, but I want to know what
Mhm.
you guys all think.
Okay.
Okay. If I'm adding it, what the hell? Hello.
His wife is a Scientologist, even though Hulk Hogan's wife will probably say she's not a Scientologist. If you're in good standing and you're connected to your OT8 Scientologist parents, you're a fucking Scientologist, whether you think you are or not. That's how I feel about it.
At the very least, you're under the rules and direction of Scientologists.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I don't think we can say it any more clear than that. I will say there are other videos, and this is not about Aaron. There are other
Right.
videos that he has also said that he really respects people who are living under the radar. Um, but when I heard him say that, it really opened my thought process up because I had just heard this about Sky, and I don't want to drag her into Scientology if she's trying to leave that behind.
Right.
But then it's also like, if you're
However,
towing the line, he had had some other friends that disconnected who weren't even Scientologists. They just didn't want to lose their parents.
right.
So, thoughts?
I could talk about this forever. I have so many thoughts.
Tell me them. Tell me these thoughts.
I can see both sides of this so much. And like you said, you and I have talked about this with celebrities before, but for me, there's like this control aspect, right? Like if you're not a Scientologist and you don't care what Scientology thinks, but you're connected to people who you love, who you don't want to rock the boat, you're still under someone else's control. Your thoughts and actions and words, publicly and privately, are still being dictated by not just someone else, not just the people that you love, that you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Mhm.
You're being dictated by Scientology. There are now rules about what you can say and what you can do
Mhm.
because you're towing a line. And I think about this a lot when I first left my culty situations. I was really scared to not even speak up. I didn't even call them cults at first. I was scared to say I didn't believe it anymore. Like,
Right.
I was just scared to say my beliefs have changed
Right.
because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings who I loved and felt were good intentioned, who still believed that way. And I had a mentor at the time that told me that, like, I if that person is going to cut me off, disconnect from me, or be angry because I am now living in my truth and I am simply sharing what I believe and what I think is right and wrong, that's not that person being a good friend to me. So it's really complicated. I think it's very complicated and very nuanced when you're speaking about relationships like that, but it shouldn't be your responsibility to toe a line in order to be around people that you love. Like, that's not you. So with Sky, it's like, does she not want to be connected to all of this? Maybe. But now she is with someone who's very high profile, and her reactions to things, her words on things are going to be largely dictated by Scientology, and that's going to be a problem for people who Scientology has horribly and viciously harmed. And it's sad.
Yeah, that is sad. I think it's sad too when people are in a position like I have no doubt that being raised a second generation Scientologist, because I was raised a third generation Scientologist, I have no doubt that she has seen things that do not look well on Scientology. She probably knows some
Right.
of the and knowing who some of her friend group had been in the past, I know she knows some things that her friends went through
Right.
that are not okay. So yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
for me, it's like, does that make her a bad person? I don't know. Like,
No.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that,
I don't
like,
think it makes her a bad
these
person.
things make I don't think Scientologists are bad people. I don't think Scientologists that, like, do some bad things are bad people unless they're really I mean, there's some things that are just really, really awful. Like, David Miscavige, I think,
Yeah.
is a bad person, right? But, like, I don't know, it's just a choice. We're all making these choices. Like,
Yeah.
there are plenty of people speaking out, or just not even speaking out, just being who they are, that didn't want to disconnect from their family, that didn't have a choice.
Yep.
And, like, so I don't it's just hard it's hard for me when, like, I don't know. We're
I
all
get it.
making choices. Are
Yep.
they right or wrong? I don't know. But for me personally, I think if you're still under control, like, that's not fair to you. Like, it's not fair to her
Right.
that she has to, like, face this scrutiny and that people ask questions and she can't say anything about it. If she truly doesn't believe that, she should be able to say that.
Yeah, we all should have a right to say what we believe and
Right.
what we don't believe without losing our parents because we happen to be married to Hulk Hogan. I don't envy her plight.
Right.
I do not. In fact, I'm going to stop asking the same question over and over because I'm always trying to figure out the answer. Like, what is everybody's responsibility? But I'll tell you my
Yeah.
responsibility. It is to highlight the abuses so that people learn from them and don't get involved in Scientology.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's the choice you're making, and I don't know.
yeah.
We're all doing our best. I think we are all doing our best, but
I believe we are. I do. Except for these mofos, because I'm about to get into our main story of the day, if you're all right with that.
yes,
This is
please.
nuts. This is so
Oh my
nuts. You're going to have to bear with me because it's so freaking nuts. We need to talk about elder abuse,
yeah.
right? This has come up in Scientology. It has been a focus on many SPTV channels, especially Mike Brown, who just recently came out, and his mother, Rosemary.
Oh
So,
my gosh. That was so sad.
Mike Rinder, you can go on his blog, learn a lot about this. I am taking this actually directly from Tony Ortega because I love the way that he like wrote it all out for me personally. Thank you for doing that for me personally, Tony. Appreciate it. We're not going to read all of this. I'm going to cliff notes this for you, but there's a few things I really want to highlight.
Okay.
First of all, here's Rosemary. Okay. She joined staff back in the 80s. She got divorced in 1987, and then she decided to go into the Sea Org. Okay. So
Mhm.
41 years old, she goes in and she's actually, I might have this not in right order, but basically she was assigned all around and she had to undergo a bunch of security clearance checks, a bunch, very, very invasive. And Mike, the kid, was told to go live with another family. Then he
Mhm.
got moved to another family and was left alone pretty much all the time. She was only allowed to see him once a week for a few hours, and he wasn't even on site, so she had to travel back and forth. Then they just moved him further away, and she couldn't really see
Yeah.
him. So then the son escapes, but she stays in. Okay,
Right.
Michael, the son, escapes because his wife was coerced into terminating a pregnancy. And that is a
Mm.
heartbreak, especially when that's not, there's coercion involved. This is terrible. So
Yeah.
he ended up leaving, but he did not want to speak out because his mother was still in. Then Rosemary got into some trouble and she ended up going and being offloaded into like this really crappy place where no, I'm sorry, we haven't even got there yet. Basically, just think about the worst conditions. This is just keep going. Oh, this part, ready?
Yeah.
All of her possessions of her family were burned in a bonfire as part of her punishment. Okay, let's not
Oh my god.
yeah, that's what we're all that's what we were building up to with that last slide that I just like lost my voice. Okay, so then for years and years and years, she's in trouble. She makes $10 a week. She can't talk to anybody. It's not an exaggeration. She like literally cannot talk to people. She has to do constant manual labor throughout the day with inadequate personnel or personal protective equipment. No hard hats or masks.
My
She was exposed to
god.
dust, paint fumes, solvents, asbestos. Then she would receive 5 hours a day of interrogations, security checks on the
Mhm.
meter. All of this because Scientology was paranoid about certain things in her position and things that she know. So now she's like deep in the crap. And she
Yeah.
starts experiencing chest pain and numbness. And they basically tell her to suck it up and keep going. Then she has a heart attack. She has to go through and is admitted to the hospital. She has to go through triple bypass surgery, all this stuff. The only silver lining here is that when she's in the hospital, her son is contacted. And Scientology, for once, cannot keep him from talking to her because he is next of kin.
Yeah.
So she's in the hospital. Then she got moved to a rehab facility. So for like almost a month, she's in rehab. And this is the time when Mike can finally start talking to her. Like, what's
Right.
going on? Actually, before he actually started talking to her, he slips her a cell phone and she finds out that while Scientology was supposed to have her healing, she was in a cold room. She barely could get food. She had to wait for her other old folks' friends to run it back and forth from her. And he's like, this is ridiculous. Then they find out that Rosemary has been siphoned of all of her money. She had built up like Social Security. They charged her, Scientology, after working her into a heart attack, charged her $12,000 to give her Scientology services, counseling, after she'd already signed a billion-year contract to work for them. They charged her $12,000 to give her spiritual counseling to help her with that heart attack situation.
Good god.
Then they took out a credit card and charged a bunch of money to that. And as well as took out personal loans on her behalf to other Scientologists that she was told she had to pay.
Oh my
And
god.
this is not the only one that they did this to. There were 4 other Sea Org members, and they charged over $69,000 on their behalf. And where did this money go? Did somebody buy a new Ferrari? No, it went to Scientology.
Yeah.
It probably went to pay for their private eyes and their lawyers and David Miscavige's fancy gold jewelry.
My
So then
god.
Rosemary finally then she finally reaches out. I might have got this in a weird order here because I jumped the gun because I was so pissed off. But they got her into a safe place. It was very cloak and dagger. It was very sketchy, but they got her into a safe place.
Yeah.
And even though her cards were charged for over $69,000 without her consent, and she was made to pay 4 people back plus interest with her Social Security check. So she's
God.
working for Scientology her whole stinking adult life. I mean, it's so insane.
It's
That
so
makes me wanna
gross.
I wanna scream. And then all
Yeah.
the while, they're telling her if she doesn't do what they say, she's going to be punished.
My God.
And to his credit, her son did not let this stand. They have the thing about an elderly abuse is it's an actionable crime, right? There's actual laws that protect children and old people, especially in the state of California. So they are going to legally, he didn't say much, but the way he made it sound, he's a smart guy.
Yeah. I
And
would
this is a
hope.
crime. This is a crime. Like
Yeah.
there's no, and they've got receipts.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I
they
had
just,
seen the part about the
yeah,
credit cards, and I had seen something that Aaron, a video he did about all of the names of people that are
yes,
in these like, what did he call it? Like they put them in these like houses, right? Like a
yeah,
lot of the elderly Scientologist Sea Org members, they like put them away in
you
these like
hide them in these,
facilities
yeah.
and a bunch of them like had strokes or something too.
Terrible, and they don't get good enough care. It's so
Yeah.
messed up. I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
Um, it's just yeah, it just makes me so upset.
Yeah.
I have to plug in my computer. Tell me how upset you are.
I will. Well, it's just enraging. Like, and I'm hoping, I mean, I'm upset, I'm enraged. It's a new aspect to Scientology that I think we haven't had as much information on in the past that I'm glad is coming out. But like hopefully, don't we all hope that this might actually be like one of the big things that like actually Scientology gets in trouble for? Because with the whole Danny Masterson thing, Leah said all the time that Scientology should be on trial for a lot of that, but it was really Danny Masterson and what he did. And I'm hoping, especially since she's not the only one,
Yeah.
like maybe this will be the thing that finally Scientology can be in trouble for. Whatever that
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
Legally, tax exemption, like
Exactly.
whatever. But this has got to be something has to be able to be done.
I
Surely.
agree. I agree. And I think that, Scientology should have to pay for the medical and retirement of their longtime employees. I think that is just a
Yes.
no-brainer.
Yep.
But from what I understand of the story, they spent her money or they got all her money. And then because of that, they told her, oh, well, now you're eligible for Medicaid. So they like almost weren't going to get her the help she needs, but now she's eligible for it because she has no money.
Nothing.
But
Yeah.
anybody who's ever been on Medicaid or needed things for their health knows that things come out of pocket still. Like you still need money.
Yeah,
And if you
there's
want to make
still
informed decisions and go to see other places or well, she had no oxygen. She like needed to be on oxygen and she just didn't have enough oxygen. I don't know how
Oh
much
my
more basic it
God.
gets than that. Yeah,
That is wild.
I know. So I'm so glad that she has her son and may this be a motivation and an inspiration for all of us, like maybe our parents didn't fight hard enough for us. Maybe they didn't, but we can still fight for them
Yeah,
if you
and
want.
I hope from what Aaron made it sound like with how many are still in, like maybe some more families. Maybe if enough families band together and
Mhm.
demand welfare checks and demand to see their family members.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, I think, right now, because it really is about actionable and immediate needs, right? Like it's
Yeah.
one thing to have a lawsuit for something that happened to you back in the day, but I'm pretty sure that you can get a different level of support for someone who's actively receiving abuse, especially
Yeah.
a protected person, uh,
Yeah.
like the elderly. So, I wish we had a good news ending. Do we?
We do.
Oh,
We
thank
do have a
God for
good
that.
You're
My
like, "Please."
goodness.
I know, I was just gonna say, this is I'm, like, stressed now.
I
We
know.
need a good news.
I'm like
So,
sweating.
we're sticking to the theme of healing from cults and high
Beautiful.
demand and toxic environments for our good news story. And we're doing the Influence Continuum podcast again because
it.
Stephen Hassan had another guest on that was talking about healing. And this time it's a creative, expressive art therapist, Liz.
Oh, I gotta listen to this.
I heard him say that and I was like, oh my God, yes, that is everything I want to be in this life. This was a really, really good episode of the Influence Continuum podcast. Esther Friedman is a therapist, I believe in Massachusetts. It might say on one of these other slides. There's a little blurb about her on igotout.org. If you guys don't know, the hashtag #IGotOut movement is people who share their stories of leaving cult environments, and they have a lot of resources on their website. I think we talked about I Got Out last time or the time before.
Yep.
But she has a little blurb about her there, and you can find her website where she talks about healing arts and healing through creativity. And she makes music and she does expressive art. And I think she writes like poetry, just all the different things that you and I have mentioned on these several times. And you had even said earlier, I wasn't going to say anything when we were talking about Laura and her yellow that she wears all of the time because of the Declare stuff. Like finding different ways to creatively express yourself when leaving these groups is so beneficial. And whether you do that guided through therapy, which she does, or whether you do that on your own, a huge part of leaving a cult is coming back to your authentic self, finding your authentic voice. She even talked in the episode about how so many therapies are going in the direction of like embodiment and like your nervous system, which I think you and I have talked about a little bit, regulating your nervous system and having tools to be not so in your head, but in your body and feeling things. And that can be really hard for us as we're healing from high control. So anything that gets your body moving. Apparently there are like expressive dance therapists for a variety of different like trauma things, which I had never heard of before. So like whether that's dance or making music or expressive art, which is what I do and what I was very drawn to in my healing process. Whatever that looks like for you, it can be a very powerful healing tool. And it was really cool to listen to her mention all the things that I had felt like were ways that creativity has helped me, to hear it from a therapist and for her to say, yes, that's exactly what this does. And yes, this is why that helps, was very cool. I loved it.
I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah.
I feel like I get sucked into sometime the like inner dynamics of stories and I forget the art of it all. It's wonderful.
Yes. Goldie says not yellow, goldenrod.
I know, I saw that.
Sorry, Goldie. Goldenrod.
No. That's funny because I was gonna do a live. In fact, I haven't even checked my email this week. I'm so behind, but with another person who I'm gonna say her name wrong. I think it's Garrett. I don't know. I'm so sorry. It's a tricky name. It's not Garrett, but it's looks like that, but it doesn't sound like that. Anyway, she has a similar thing where she does like writing workshops for writing for healing. And when I was checking out her website, she had some retreats and stuff. Ooh. This is all something I think I'm about ready to explore.
Same.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much. I feel like we covered so much today.
Yes. Wow. There was a lot to cover.
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments here. Let's see. Gosh, I'm looking back at these and I'm like, I'm so self-centered. Look what I starred. I starred something about myself. My shorts are great. Thanks. And another thing about myself, my book. I got to get it together. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever's going on between David Miscavige and Lou, his assistant, he will be freaked out when we talk about it. So win-win. Yeah, it is a win-win until she's sent to the hole because we're talking about it.
Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so
Something
Sorry.
to consider, everyone.
I know. You know what's so funny is people ask me a lot about like, well, where, you know, now that you've written a book, like, what does it mean? And all I keep thinking is, if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, like, someone's going to buy your book. Like, someone is, you know, your voice matters, I guess. But to me, I need to hear, like, your book, you wrote a book. And I just feel like people like Lou, I guess, marginalize women in some regard because they're sort of shadowed by these big cult leaders, or Bijou Phillips sort of, you know, shadowed by Danny Masterson. And it's like very dangerous to speak out. And like, will the world trust me? I just wish I could whisper in their ear, like, now's the time, sister. Your voice is so valuable. The world will beg you for this story. Like, come out and scream it. So. Did we both just disappear? I don't know what's happening. I guess that means we're done, folks. Scientology has officially shut us down. They're like, stop, you guys are done. Okay, well, I don't think Cassie Marie is coming back, but thanks for sticking with us this long. And we will see you next week.